The Ankh is one of the most enduring symbols of ancient Egypt and is often referred to as the key of life, or crux ansata. It symbolizes eternal life, divine protection, and the connection between the mortal and divine realms. The gods are often shown offering the Ankh to pharaohs, suggesting the transmission of life force or divine authority. The loop at the top represents eternity, or the sun rising over the horizon, while the crossbar and vertical stem may indicate the union of opposites, such as heaven and earth, or masculine and feminine. The Ankh was worn as a talisman by the living and placed in tombs to ensure the deceased's survival in the afterlife. The Eye of Horus, also called the Wedjat Eye, is a powerful symbol of protection, healing, and restoration. According to myth, Horus lost his left eye during a battle with Set, and the eye was magically restored by the god Thoth. Because of this, it became a symbol of recovery and wholeness. Ancient Egyptians used it extensively in amulets, jewelry, coffins, and tombs to protect against evil and safeguard both the living and the dead. It also represented the moon, in contrast to the Eye of Ra, which symbolized the sun. Mathematically, its segments were even used to denote fractions, reinforcing its association with completeness. While visually similar to the Eye of Horus, the Eye of Ra carries a more aggressive and solar nature. It represents the destructive and fiery aspect of the sun god Ra, often personified as a goddess such as Sekhmet, Hathor, or Bastet. The Eye of Ra was seen as a weapon of divine vengeance, sent to punish enemies and restore balance when Ma'at was threatened. At the same time, it served as a protector of the pharaoh, temples, and sacred spaces. Its duality, protective yet dangerous, reflected the complex nature of divine power in Egyptian thought. The Djed Pillar stands for strength, endurance, and stability. Closely associated with Osiris, the god of the afterlife and resurrection, the Djed was believed to represent his backbone or spinal column, a source of spiritual and cosmic support. It was used in ceremonies like the raising of the Djed, symbolizing the triumph of order over chaos and the renewal of the king's divine power. Placing the Djed in tombs ensured the deceased had strength in the afterlife and could be reborn like Osiris. It was also linked to the annual Nile flood and agricultural fertility. The Wa's scepter was a long staff with a forked base and an abstract animal head at the top. It symbolized divine authority, power, and control over chaos. Frequently depicted in the hands of gods, kings, and priests, it marked the bearer as someone who maintained Ma'at, the sacred balance of the universe. The Waz was often associated with Set, the god of storms and disorder, yet it was used to channel power rather than represent destruction. In tombs and temple art, the Waz helped reinforce the legitimacy and divine favor of rulers. The Shen Ring is a loop of rope tied into a circle, representing eternity, completeness, and divine protection. It was often depicted with wings or in the talons of falcons, associated with Horus, or held by deities. Its primary function was protective, surrounding names, phrases, or images to safeguard their meaning and existence. The word Shen means to encircle, and the unbroken circle reflected the infinite and unchanging nature of the divine. It commonly appeared in cartouches, jewelry, and temple inscriptions. A cartouche is an elongated oval that encloses the name of a royal or divine figure. It indicated that the name within was sacred and protected by divine forces. The cartouche's shape is thought to derive from the Shen Ring, emphasizing eternity and divine guardianship. Including a pharaoh's name in a cartouche ensured it would be preserved for eternity, and destroying it was considered an act of spiritual erasure. Cartouches were used in official inscriptions, sarcophagi, and magical texts to link the ruler's identity with cosmic permanence. The Ka was one of the essential components of the soul in ancient Egyptian belief. It represented a person's life force or spiritual double that was created at birth and lived on after death. The Ka symbol, a pair of raised arms, signified divine embrace and sustenance. Offerings of food, drink, and incense were made to the Ka in tombs and temples to nourish it in the afterlife. Without these offerings, the Ka would weaken, so priests and family members often maintained rituals to support the deceased's continued spiritual well-being. The Ba represented another facet of the soul: personality, identity, and mobility after death. It was often shown as a bird with a human head, capable of flying between the physical world and the afterlife. The Ba was believed to leave the tomb during the day and return at night, maintaining the deceased's connection to the world of the living. Funerary texts often instructed the Ba on how to safely return and reunite with the body, a necessary step for resurrection. Its presence on tomb walls symbolized the hope for a fully functioning afterlife. The Scarab beetle was sacred to the god Khepri, who represented the rising sun and the force of creation and rebirth. Just as dung beetles roll balls of earth, Khepri was believed to roll the sun across the sky. Scarabs became the most popular amulet in Egypt, often inscribed with spells or names and placed on the body of the deceased, particularly over the heart. These heart scarabs were meant to silence the heart during judgment, ensuring a favorable outcome in the afterlife. The scarab was a symbol of constant renewal and eternal return. The lotus, particularly the blue lotus, held deep spiritual meaning in ancient Egypt. It was associated with creation, rebirth, purity, and the sun's daily cycle. Since the flower closes at night and reopens in the morning, it came to represent the resurrection of life and the soul. It was also tied to the god Nefertem, who was born from a lotus and brought light to the world. The flower frequently appeared in tomb art, offering scenes and temple columns as a sign of eternal life and spiritual enlightenment. The papyrus plant symbolized Lower Egypt and was associated with growth, fertility, and creation. It grew in abundance along the Nile and was essential for writing materials, boats, and ritual items. In temple scenes, papyrus was often offered to gods to symbolize the presentation of life and knowledge. Combined with the lotus, symbolizing Upper Egypt, the two plants represented the unity of the kingdom. Bundles of papyrus were also used in architecture to decorate columns, emphasizing the connection between nature and sacred space. The Crook and Flail were royal symbols representing the pharaoh's dual role as protector and provider. The crook, resembling a shepherd's staff, signified guidance and care for the people. The flail represented authority, harvest, and discipline, the tools used to separate grain from husk. Together, they symbolized balanced leadership and were often crossed over the chest of Osiris or held by living pharaohs. These tools reinforced the divine status of the ruler and their responsibility to uphold Ma'at. The feather of Ma'at symbolized truth, justice, and cosmic harmony. In the afterlife, a person's heart was weighed against this feather in the Hall of Two Truths. If the heart was lighter or equal in weight, the soul was judged pure and allowed to enter paradise. If heavier, the heart was devoured by the demon Ammit. The feather appeared in temple scenes, judgment depictions, and worn as amulets. Ma'at's feather reminded Egyptians of the importance of living a just and honest life. Seba, the star symbol, represented the souls of the blessed dead and the divine order of the night sky. These five-pointed stars often adorned ceilings of tombs and temples, symbolizing the heavens and the idea that the deceased would dwell among the imperishable stars. Seba also signified navigation, cosmic rhythm, and the eternity of divine existence. The Egyptians viewed stars as guiding lights in both the literal and spiritual sense. The Uraeus is a cobra shown upright and flaring its hood, ready to strike. It symbolized divine authority, protection, and the power of the gods, particularly Wedjat, the serpent goddess of Lower Egypt. The Uraeus was worn on royal crowns and headdresses, facing forward as a guardian. It was believed to protect the pharaoh by spitting fire at enemies. In magic and ritual, it represented the fierce and vigilant aspects of divine rule. The sistrum was a sacred percussion instrument shaped like an ankh or horseshoe, often used in rituals dedicated to Hathor. It was shaken to create a jingling sound, thought to summon deities and drive out evil spirits. Priestesses and temple musicians used the sistrum during festivals and healing ceremonies. It represented joy, fertility, and divine communication, and was sometimes included in tomb goods to ensure continued favor from the gods in the afterlife. The Menat was a beaded necklace with a heavy counterweight worn by priestesses and devotees of Hathor. It symbolized fertility, music, protection, and rebirth. In rituals, it was swung rhythmically to accompany sistrum music, reinforcing harmony between the spiritual and physical worlds. The Menat was also placed in tombs to protect the deceased and provide ongoing blessings from the goddess. The Tyet, or knot of Isis, resembles the Ankh, but with downward curving arms. It symbolized life, healing, and protection, especially from feminine or maternal sources. It was closely linked to Isis, who used her magic to protect and resurrect Osiris. Tyet amulets were often made from red jasper or carnelian and placed among the wrappings of the dead. They were believed to grant the wearer the goddess's powerful protection in the afterlife. The Aten was depicted as a radiant sun disk with rays ending in small hands. It was the central deity of Pharaoh Akhenaten's short-lived monotheistic religion. The hands extended life, blessings, and divine energy directly to the royal family. The Aten emphasized the sun as the direct source of life, light, and divine will, removing the need for intermediary gods. While the worship of Aten faded after Akhenaten's reign, the image of the sun disk remained a powerful spiritual motif. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel. It helps us make better videos and grow our community of like-minded thinkers. Thanks for watching.